Welcome back to Dice to Pixels. Thanks for joining us again. We are here today to entertain you and talk about stuff that we all enjoy. Games, gaming.
I'm so angry!
Uh-oh.
Well, it sounds like Sarah has something important to talk about. So we'll see you next time.
Why are you so mad,
Sarah, go ahead.
I am very annoyed, and I'm sure there's many others with me, about Nintendo's first-party game prices.
Yes.
Yes. They don't go down, ever. Well, they drop for sales,
Yeah.
only at 30%.
They don't go down over time.
No, they don't. They don't. Some of them are like pretty inexpensive to begin with. Like, well, inexpensive in Nintendo world, I guess. But by and large, like, I did way more work than necessary for this. So basically, I went through all of Nintendo's eShop and pulled a list of all their first-party games going back as far as I could. And then I used all of those games as reference and went on Wikipedia and found lists and made a list of every other game that Wikipedia had that was released on the same day, and then pulled the prices for some of those to compare what the prices from then. Well, these are the current prices today as of early January 2023. And
I believe we can safely say hashtag she did the math. I saw the spreadsheet and was very confused by it. It's impressive.
Good.
Chad's a Sith.
Let the hate flow through.
Yeah, go ahead. Walk us through a bit of it.
okay, so the earliest day of game releases I could find on there that was listed on the Nintendo website, and I didn't include any DLC or any DS games, anything like that, or freebies. Was on March 3rd.
Freebies are $79 too.
Oh. Yeah, that's Nintendo's idea of a freebie.
No, they'd be $78.99.
That's right.
Yeah. So March 3rd, 2017, and that was the release of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And they still want $79.99 for it.
Yeah. See, when I read this, I thought, because I saw this doc in our shared drive earlier today with no context. I thought that was the release. Well, it obviously was the release price, but I didn't realize that was still today's price. That's
the current
ridiculous.
price. I pulled it directly from the eShop today. Some of the prices I pulled, well, these are all the regular prices. Some of them, the games are currently on sale for 30% off, but I did their regular prices. Mario Kart 8 is still $79.99. We got Splatoon 2, which was released July 21st, 2017. It's still that same price point, the $80. And Splatoon 3, oh my god, I can't say that word apparently.
She's so angry.
Splatoon 3 just recently came out at the end of 2022. So,
yeah. Well, you actually kind of blew past one of the ones that's now that I know what this spreadsheet is.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of blew past one of the ones that now makes me want to vomit, which is The Binding of Isaac Rebirth.
Yes.
$49.99 on Nintendo eShop.
Yeah. And technically, that is listed as a DLC in most places, but I figured it was standalone enough.
I would agree, and that's, I mean, you've got the other prices here. It's basically $11 anywhere else, but that's insane.
Yeah,
because like some of these are Nintendo exclusives, and like as much as it's bullshit, you can kind of be like, well, you can only get it from them, so I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But like that, you can get anywhere.
Yep. There's no reason for it. Now, it's not to say that other companies aren't just as bad, because like Assassin's Creed Origins is still $80 on Steam, PlayStation, well, Steam and PlayStation, whereas Xbox has it for $60. And that was released also in 2017.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Like Mario Tennis is still $80. Kirby Star Allies. Like, I honestly don't remember hearing about that really at all.
Not a clue.
2018, still $80. Like,
so it's interesting because so these the other thing that's interesting in here, and I know you you did all of the work already
Yeah.
on this, but this is all the digital pricing.
Yeah.
I just quickly looked at Assassin's Creed Origins because I was like, surely it's not that much. And it absolutely is online, but Walmart has the physical disc for $25. Now it's on sale from $30, but still. And that's Canadian.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because that means that you can buy the disc cheaper than the digital download.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, which makes like no sense because you would think that the whole purpose of buying games digitally would, and initially it was cheaper than buying the physical version. But then as inflation rose and companies got freaking greedier, you know, like I'm to what you were saying, like looking on Amazon right now at Assassin's Creed Origins, and you can get it on Xbox One for $25.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't want to derail this topic too much because I want to hear more. But I do wonder if this is going to bite people in the ass with the digital only consoles.
Yeah.
But I will say one of the things that actually companies, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. But one of the things that companies did wrong early on with the e-store stuff is the actual cost of delivering the download, because you need to be able to deliver it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So them like selling it cheaper in the first like whatever year or two was actually a stupid move. They should never have done that. But also it shouldn't be $80 dollars.
No. But yeah, going back to this list, it's a pretty freaking extensive list that
it's a very extensive list.
So I didn't pull the prices for everything, but I pulled some for like more popular games. So something like Untitled Goose Game came out in 2019. On Steam it's $22.79, Switch is $25.99, PlayStation's $26.99, and Xbox is $19.99. So in pulling some of these prices, I was really surprised to find that Xbox tends to have the least expensive. Like their prices are always a little bit lower.
That only surprises me a little bit. Because the Xbox in some ways directly competes with the PC game. And Microsoft has historically been okay with losing money on the Xbox.
Okay.
Especially for older games. That doesn't shock me.
Okay. Then that makes sense, because I honestly would have expected it to pretty consistently be Steam that would have the cheaper version. Because like even Ori and the Blind Forest is $2 more than on Steam than on Xbox. But the price difference between those two is pretty ridiculous. Yeah. So Steam, it's $6.99. Xbox, $4.99. On Nintendo Switch, $24.99.
So dumb.
It's
so dumb.
Like, and Luigi's Mansion's still $80. Like Pokemon Sword and Shield is still $80. And those came like 2019.
Well, the striking thing to me, and maybe we'll make this spreadsheet viewable by the public since you did all this work. The striking thing to me is like I'm scrolling down the Switch price list, and the spread of prices from 2017 and from like 2021 and 2022,
there's no difference.
There's no difference. It's the same. Like, I mean, there's a few more cheap games in the older stuff, but I think that's probably just because the newer stuff, like there are still cheap games. You just didn't include them in the list. But yeah, like there's no difference. It's all the same price.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's primarily mostly like Pokemon, Mario, and then like some larger type games like Bravely Default is still $80 too. Yeah. But then Kirby games seem to be a little bit cheaper is what I noticed too.
That's interesting. I wonder if there's a good reason for that. If maybe there's a different publisher involved.
I think maybe it was just because they were they didn't push them as hard, because I don't remember hearing anything about Kirby Fighters 2.
That's fair.
The Forgotten Land was the big, because that's one I want to play. But again, I'm not spending $80 on something that I'm going to play once.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's understandable.
You know what I mean? And the one thing I'm actually surprised about with with a lot of Nintendo's, especially this first party game, is Nintendo Switch Sports, which you would think they would sell at the same ridiculous price point as all their other first party games.
Yeah.
But no, this is only $50.
That surprised me too. I was expecting to see that one at $80.
But I think the physical version costs more because it comes with an accessory.
Yeah, well, there's that, and there's also so the sports games, they started this with the Wii.
Yep.
They didn't charge as much for it, specifically because they wanted people to get hooked on the mechanics of the controllers and everything. So you might be seeing some of that too, where it's they're selling it obviously not at a loss. There's no way that's a loss, but selling it a little bit cheaper just to draw people in a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I think they did that with Wii Sports. Because I remember Wii Sports being like $120, but that included like the balance board thing.
No, that wasn't Wii Sports. That was
Sorry, that was Wii Fitness.
Yeah, it was Wii Fit.
Yeah. They have
Wii
Wii Fit and Wii Fit 2 here, and they're
Yeah.
$65.
For
Wii Sports-
just the game.
Wii
Just the
Sports
game.
was bundled with the Wii, with the initial Wii.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was thinking Wii Fit,
yeah.
but Wii Fit was like you got a chunky balance board that was like a fairly high tech piece of equipment, and I think it and the game was, game if you can call it that, was like $120, which was respectable given what you were getting.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable.
But I don't know, like with the Switch Sports thing, I think because the control style is fairly similar, holding the Joy-Con is, yes, it's smaller than a Wii remote, but it's essentially the same. Like when you're playing bowling on the Nintendo Switch, you're still kind of utilizing the same type of motion and control, right?
But you're neglecting the part where they got to sell more docks so that you could put it up on your screen.
Oh.
I think that they would have sold more docks for the like couch co-op. I think that would be where they were trying to draw the extra sales.
And I think now, like that the Switch Sports game, like that should be bundled with the freaking Switch system.
For sure.
Like,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, because you're not gonna. Because even I don't know what the Mario Kart bundles are like now. To get a Switch with the Mario Kart, I don't know if it's legit like $100 more than like you're paying $100 for a game that came out in 2017, and you know the whole they're coming out with new tracks now for the game. You know, it's okay, fine, great. They're coming out with new tracks now.
Yeah.
The game was still released in 2017, and they're not new tracks. They're just upscaled tracks of older, you know, from older Mario Kart games. Like that's all it is.
Yeah. It doesn't look like there's anything current for Mario Kart bundles. There's one on Amazon that's like it is $100 more, but it also doesn't look like that's like that might be an old listing, so that might be a markup. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what happened with Nintendo because they were one of the first. Was there anything more that you were going to?
Oh, I was just going to say there are circumstances like Ghost of Tsushima being that is a PlayStation exclusive. That one's still $80.
It's also just had a DLC drop recently.
Yeah.
As well.
And then Elder, oh my goodness, Outer Worlds is $80 everywhere except for Xbox at this point too.
Right.
And both of those games came out in 2020 as well. But yeah, sorry, what were you going to say about Nintendo?
Well, it blows my mind because they were one of the first like player friendly companies that would offer the discounted prices on a lot of first party games. Like I can remember the Super Nintendo when there was like you could get A Link to the Past and Super Metroid and Super Punch Out and Super Mario World, and they were all discounted because like a cartridge back then was close to $100.
Sure.
But you could get I think they were called the Player's Choice, and they were like $40 or $50 to get back like way back when, and they continued that with the N64. I think they had something similar for the GameCube. I'm not sure. I know they did for like the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance. But like now, like the cheapest you're ever going to see like any of their first party games, the fact that they still want $80 for Breath of the Wild blows my frigging mind.
I know.
Like Mario Kart yeah, but and again, they're coming out with new stuff. They're adding new tracks and all that to it now. But they should have been adding new tracks and stuff to that game like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it should have been a slow release type thing.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I was actually just doing a little bit of quick Amazon searching because I was curious. Because to your point, you used to get the sort of player's choice versions, and then it was like the game of the year editions and stuff like that. I was curious. So I went and checked for Splatoon 2 physical copies because I'm like, maybe that's still a thing with physical copies. Nah, not so much.
Yeah.
Not for Nintendo, at least.
Yeah. And out of everything, well, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, yes, that blows my mind. But Splatoon 2 still being $80, that one just absolutely boggles me. I don't understand how they can justify that when did it come out? Let me find 2 or 3, I should say.
2017.
No, sorry, I'm looking for 3.
21, I think.
I thought it came out this year.
Possibly.
At any rate.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
That is, yeah, it was September 8th, 2022. So quite recently. The fact that didn't get discounted. But honestly, I mean, I don't think that's too much weirder than like Mario Kart 8. Like,
yeah,
old's old, right?
Yeah.
Like the idea is to...
Yeah, but like there isn't a Mario Kart 9 now, and there...
Yeah, but does that really matter?
It doesn't. No, it really, really doesn't. It's just that because there has been another release in the Splatoon series.
It's like especially bad.
Yeah.
Well, even Zelda. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is a remake of a Wii U game that came out in like the early 2010s. Sure. And they just did an HD remaster of it. And they still want $80 for that. And that came out after Breath of the Wild. And it's just a remake.
Sure.
That's ridiculous.
Did they entirely redo the game like they did?
Visually, no. It looks more or less the same. They added some Switch controls so that you can use controller or motion.
Okay.
But still, it's like an older game.
Yeah.
And you're still asking for $80.
Yep.
Like that's a game that should have been priced at like $49 when it initially released.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a couple other re-releases that they've done, and they're still just as weird and weirdly priced. And I don't know. It
irritates me, especially with growing up. Like I was such a big Nintendo fan growing up, and just seeing this stuff now is like, I look at companies like PlayStation. PlayStation had their line of greatest hits for I think the PS1 and the PS2. And again, same thing. And mind you, the compact, like buying a new PlayStation game when it was initially released, they were like $40 or $50, and their greatest hits were usually about $20. But even they had something like that. And what you were saying about the Game of the Year editions now, where like after a year, a fully complete game comes out, like Witcher 3. How many times have you seen the Witcher 3 complete edition come out?
Oh, yeah.
It just came out for next gen systems, and it's $40 for the game and all the DLC with a nice visual upgrade. Right. I think with PlayStation and Xbox, because PlayStation has the PS Plus collection, which gives you access to a lot of their really good hits for basically your monthly PS Plus cost, and with the Game Pass, like I think that's kind of their excuse for not having those kind of cheap first party hits that are, that would go on sale. But Nintendo, like,
it feels, I don't know if, I doubt it's intentional, but it feels a little bit like it seems like a barrier to a lot of gaming for a company that's supposed to be like the family friendly console. It's disappointing from a consumer's point of view, especially for such an older game. Like if I was a parent or something, or like trying to get something like this for a niece or nephew or whatever, like that's a big purchase. You want to be reasonably sure that the kid is going to enjoy it if it's going to be a younger person. Or if I'm spending that money on me, well, then that's just my stupid issue. But it's such a barrier for where you want to spend your entertainment, that all of these games, even when they're older, especially when you expect them to be so much cheaper and they're still full price, like, why am I? Is there any other improvements with Breath of the Wild that have come out since 2017 that's why I'm paying $80 for? No. Like,
no, in fact, I
yeah.
would bet that there haven't been any
No.
updates because Nintendo, if there's one thing they do well, it's that games that they release generally work when they're released
Yes.
and don't need a million patches. So there's
Yes.
that, but that doesn't excuse charging $80
No.
10 years later.
No.
I was just trying to figure out if there was an online, like a subscription play that they were trying to end around this, and if I could sort of put it in that context to make it sense. Not really. No. It just looks really dumb. I don't know what the hell they're doing. That's weird.
No, clearly they're not going to go out of business for it because they have many, many happy fans.
Well, they're not going to go out of business yet for it.
Yes, but the fact of people are still willing to pay that $80. It doesn't feel like there is a vocal majority that's saying, hey, this is an issue. Why are we still paying this amount of money for games that are so old?
Yeah.
Especially when it's like you said, they do come when they're published, finally released into the wild. They're fully complete games.
Yeah.
I will give them credit for that. As you said, like when they release a game, it's complete. It's not buggy. It's done. When you two were in Madison, Wisconsin in 2021, when Metroid Dread came out, I bought that.
Yeah.
And I paid $80 for it, but I'm a Metroid fan, right? I like the Metroid series, and that gave me something to play while I was home alone all by myself. But and yeah, like, I mean, it like any Metroid game, it had its issues. I felt I'm not going to get into it too much, but something like that where like I played it over the course of that week and I haven't gone back to it because I played it and I beat it and I got the 100% out of it and I put it back in the case and it's sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
No, it's confusing. It is actually confusing. Normally when we talk about something like this, I can kind of figure out a way to frame it where it makes sense. It's like, well, and I guess the only place that I can kind of frame it is they're mostly exclusive games to Nintendo. So I'd like, if you want those games, screw you, you're paying the premium. Yeah. But normally there's at least a place somewhere that it's like, oh, well, those are overpriced because they want you to get it through the online subscription where you're paying them a guaranteed monthly. And like normally there's some business case that you can kind of figure out. I don't see it. This just looks weird.
Yep. And like Live a Life was another game that was first party Nintendo, and it came out just last year, 2022, and it's $65. Like that game,
it's not 100% first party because it was a Squaresoft game.
Okay. Well,
that was released initially in Japan on the Super Famicom, but never was ported over to here. So this is actually a slight graphical upgraded. They've upgraded it like graphically, musically, sound wise, and all that stuff, and re-released it now in North America for the first time. So
okay, well, I pulled it from the list of first party games that I have.
It's a Switch exclusive, but it's technically a third party game.
Yeah, but like the amount of like you have that game, I don't know.
Good.
Yeah,
it's a fun game.
Have you you haven't finished it at all? Have
you?
Not
yet.
No. And the amount of time that you've dumped into that, though, like, would that be anything that you'd ever consider going back to again?
No, because I think the only game of that style, similar style that I would go back to and have gone back to is like Final Fantasy 6/3, Final Fantasy 4/2, Chrono Trigger, Octopath Traveler is another one that is still, I think it's still $80 on the Switch, but it also just came out on other platforms for roughly the same price. But it's a good game. Like you get the time, you get a lot of time out of it, but it's not very replayable because there's no branching paths or like different choices that you can make that's going to affect the game. It's your typical RPG beginning, middle, end. And I say the Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy VI growing up, like 2 and 3 here on the Super Nintendo, they were like classics. So like, yeah, I played them over and over again because they were so good. And even now they stand up to a lot of the current crop of RPGs because they were so good. They have good story, good gameplay, sort of, I guess, if you like selecting menu stuff.
If you like that. Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much of that is just, you played those during the right years and therefore they hold that special place.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if newer gamers are like, oh no, the Switch game X is the best thing ever and I play it 8 hours a day every day for, years on end. So things like that I'm always a little wary of in terms of sort of not to discount it, but like on the objective side, those always are a flag for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I agree. I don't think Switch games tend to be I don't think new Nintendo games are good for the most part.
No.
I actually don't like them.
No.
I like the old ones that actually had some challenge to them.
Mhm.
I remember being super annoyed with the latest Mario game that I played, which wasn't that recent, by the way. I think it was like Super Paper Mario or something.
Oh yeah.
Because it was just impossible to lose. It's like you would have to be really bad at games to lose that.
See, that's not fun either.
Yeah, whereas like the original Mario Brothers going way, way back, well, not the original Super Mario Brothers, like I can still sit down and it takes a while to at least to one shot that game. Like,
I don't think I've ever gotten past level 3.
So like they aren't my cup of tea, but that doesn't mean that other people don't love them. But yeah, just keeping the price so high. I guess it's just that they figure they can, and obviously they can.
Yeah.
It seems a little shitty though.
A little bit, yeah. Just yeah.
Like I won't. Like if I'm, as much as I would want to trade in like my first party Nintendo games that I own, I would rather sell them to somebody for like $20.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I cannot, like, if I have a physical copy of Breath of the Wild for the Switch and I trade it into a GameStop, right? Or an EB Games or whatever, they're going to take that and selling it used. They're probably still going to sell it for like $50.
Well, they'd be stupid not to.
Yeah. Right. So I would rather take that game and like a friend that has a kid at home and they want to play Zelda here. And if they're a good friend, I might not even want money. Just here, take it, give it to your son.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested because normally the reward for playing digital is one of two things. If you're buying it day one, you don't have to go and like get it day one.
Yeah.
That's like the reward for getting it right away. Or if you're buying it 6 months down the line, your reward is you're saving money. It's gone down in price. Maybe the physical hasn't, but the digital has.
Yep.
With Nintendo, I gotta say, it doesn't look like there's any point in buying digital games except possibly convenience.
Yeah.
And honestly, I never found installing Switch games to be all that convenient. Their digital stuff is,
Well, you don't have a lot of storage space either on the Switch as well.
Well, you don't have a lot of storage, and I just always found like downloading the games and installing them to be not like, it's not hard, but I wouldn't call it like quick and easy. And also the download speeds, I never got very good download speeds.
They're not good download speeds.
Yeah, their online component sucks.
Sure.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Sure. So I'm not sure, like I know that the games that I do have for Switch, which I think I've only bought 3, I do know that I think I bought them all digital, but obviously I shouldn't have. Obviously I should have brought the physical media because I could resell them for, I mean, not that I would because it's more hassle than it's worth, but I could resell them for probably $40 or something if I really wanted to.
Yep.
So that's a weird play on their part.
It is. It's a very strange play. Very unfortunate.
And I look at it like, okay, so and a lot of it too is renown, right? So a lot of Nintendo first party games, and this goes back to what we were saying about how when they release a game, they're complete games. There's no day one patch, there's no buggy release, like they're complete games. And I'll give Nintendo credit for that. Like they don't mess around when it comes to actually releasing a good product. A lot of their games usually get reviewed quite well. Like Zelda Breath of the Wild is the game of the year for most people. The Mario games are usually well received. Mario Kart is, crack for some people. Mario Party, while is one of the ones that I'm like, okay, well, the only time you're ever going to get any enjoyment out of it is when you're playing it with friends. Because as a single player experience, it's pretty freaking boring, right? Mario Golf, you and I play the hell out of that when we get the chance.
Yeah.
And the only time I ever play it is with you and Sarah, or
Well, yeah, I remember that when I went to buy Mario Golf, because I was like, well, I'll pick it up because it's been out forever, and I remember looking at it, and it was like $80, and I was like, never mind. That Chad already has it. There's no point in me spending $80 on it.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess I didn't put two and two together at the time, but holy God.
Yep.
That is just gross.
Yep. Now, on Nintendo, you like on the Switch, you can still get like really, really cheap games. Like I have on my wish list is like predominantly games that are less than $5, much like Steam. But those are like little indie type games. So again, indie's where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also noticed that the subscription for NES games is cheap.
Yes.
It's like $20 a year US.
Yes.
So like 800 Canadian.
Yep.
Which maybe that's kind of part of it, is that they're like, well, yeah, we don't discount our games because we don't care. We count on getting the sales early to because they sell a game that works, people don't hesitate. Like I would hesitate to order a pre-order from a lot of companies. For instance, I'm not going to pre-order Diablo 4.
Nope.
I wouldn't feel the same about a Nintendo game because in general, I know that Nintendo games are going to work day one.
Yep.
So it may be that they just make most of their money like up front, and then they're like, screw it, just keep selling it for $80. Who cares? Meanwhile, they're just also subscribed to our $20 a year Nintendo, and I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. See, even with, I would be okay if they did something similar to what PlayStation's done with the PS Plus, where if you pay, let's say $60 a year for a good online service, and because Nintendo and online, that's like oil and water to them. Like their online sucks.
Sure.
And they really need to fix that. But if they offered something like the PlayStation Plus, where you get, a bunch of games that you can download for free, but they're like a greatest hits catalog. It's like when you get the PlayStation Plus and then the PS Plus collection, you have God of War 2018, you have The Last of Us, like first party big hits. So if they had something like that for $60, a year, and let's discount like the NES and SNES online stuff. Let's just ignore that. And this is strictly the online play. But then you also get access to a catalog of like Breath of the Wild, of Mario Kart, of Super Mario Odyssey, of Metroid Dread. You know what I mean?
I do. They almost have that, I think is what I would say.
I feel like it's coming.
Well, no, they literally, they basically have that now. So it's just not quite what you're getting at. So the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack is $50 US a year. And it comes with all of the same stuff that the Nintendo Switch Online does. So we're talking NES, SNES, etc. It also adds Nintendo 64
and Sega
Genesis and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and Splatoon 2.
I thought that was just the DLC for all those.
Well,
yep.
Are you sure that it's just the DLC? Because that's not the way this is phrased.
Okay, maybe not then. You can only either have to pay for the DLC, I think, for Animal Crossing, there was issue when that came out for a lot of players because you had to have the subscription, but I think they've backtracked that now.
Right. Okay. Because the way that it's phrased is you can just play the game.
Okay.
But in fairness, I don't know. I don't do Nintendo Switch, so I have one, but I never actually use it. So like it looks like they're kind of almost going that direction, but
Yeah, this here is just saying the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass,
sure.
New Horizons Happy Home Paradise, and the Splatoon 2 Octo expansion.
Yeah, but it doesn't say you need the base game, which usually it would. Again, I don't know because I don't own it. I haven't checked
Yeah.
it.
If you have any insight into that, actually, I think we're interested to know that.
Or if you think you understand what the hell Nintendo's strategy here is. It is legitimately confusing.
Yep.
Like I said, I expected to be able to come up with something that made sense. Like, oh, well, clearly they're just shunting people into the online subscription, which clearly is what they're trying to do.
Mhm.
But like, it doesn't even include the Wii stuff,
Nope.
which kind of makes it seem like that's not their play. So I don't know. It's very weird. I think
weird.
they are very confused about what company they want to be.
Yeah, for real. And it makes me wonder with the Xbox, you're starting to see a lot of Xbox games on Switch consoles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it before, but I wonder if there's going to be some kind of cross promote. Like, are you going to, the day that you can play a Mario game on like an Xbox will blow my freaking mind. And I remember saying that about like Sega games.
Mm-hmm.
Playing Sonic on a Nintendo system was just like, oh, that's blasphemous. Oh, you'll never see that. And then here we are.
Surprise.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Playing Sonic games on everything.
Yeah.
So-
And obviously we're talking officially. Like I know that you can play like Super Mario 64 on your Xbox, but that's not like that's
Official.
not sanctioned.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be interested. I mean, we were talking about it the other day, and I legitimately do think that Nintendo looks more and more like it wants to get out of the hardware business
Mm-hmm.
and just be a software company, which is fine. But if they want to be a software company, they're gonna have to stop pricing their games like morons.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's not a winning strategy.
No.
Nope.
No.
Every other game company in the world discounts their games over time. Like, I know that they put them on sale, but like they don't get cheaper, which is weird. So
It'd be like one of those things if Sony was charging like $80 still for the original like God of War.
Yeah.
God of War 2018.
I was gonna say for the
That
PlayStation
one, yeah.
one.
Right? Like if they still wanted full price for that.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, no. I mean, the Arkham, like the Batman Arkham series, that entire series of games is like insanely good. And if they were first party titles, like, sure, like I'm almost positive like they would be selling them for like a ridiculous amount. But the fact that you could just get the bundle recently for $12 on Xbox.
yeah, well, yeah, so maybe that's part of it with Nintendo too, is that they tend to have diehard fans. Because I do know
Mhm.
that most people I know that like buy into the Mario games, they just own all of them.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if a new Mario game comes out, they buy it. It doesn't matter if it's good.
Yeah.
They buy it. And so maybe that's part of it, is like most game companies discount their games because they want to get you into the ecosystem a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
so that when they release their next game, they at least have a shot at selling it to you. And maybe Nintendo legitimately has the market research to just kind of say like, yeah, screw it. You're all addicted. We'll charge what we want. And you
I
can
think,
go
yeah,
now.
that's the way it is, because it's one of the oldest, what's the word I'm looking for? Like series, like most recognizable names in gaming that
Yeah.
been going back. So they have fan base through multiple generations at this point. So it's not like they have to try and lure people in anymore.
Hot take. I hate the 3D Mario games.
I liked Mario 64.
I tried to, and I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
It's the old man in me. I'm just so used to playing my Mario games like as a side scroller that when I tried to initially play Super Mario 64, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, well, and also for you, not having to chisel your moves on clay tablets would be pretty distracting for you too, eh?
That's how we figured and remembered the codes. You can't erase that shit.
Yeah, well, so I think part of the problem with 3D Mario games is that they've never made them good. They started with Mario 64, which I liked. I enjoyed it. But it was a train wreck. I actually saw recently somebody apparently broke it down, rewrote some of the code, and got it running at 60 frames per second so that it actually works. Because that game was atrociously slow to play.
Yeah.
Was that the one with the owl?
No. That was the very first 3D Mario.
Yeah.
It was the first. It was the N64 release title.
There was a penguin. There was a big penguin that you find at the top of a hill, and you have to slide down a mountain with it.
And it was the leaf hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The wing hat. The wing hat.
So, and then I don't think they ever got good.
Mario,
right?
I think Mario Galaxy.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was Galaxy 1 or Galaxy 2, but I know one of them was just. A lot of people think that that's the epitome of the best of the Mario 3Ds. I never played them.
I played it and thought it was garbage. But again, part of that is because it was so freaking easy.
Yeah.
There was zero, I had within 3 levels, I had 15 extra lives or something utterly ridiculous. It was one of those things so you just can't fail at this game. It was made for preschoolers, and that's not fun.
No. The new Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, which again, I believe that is a remaster of a Wii U version of a Super Mario game that was released on the Switch, and they still want $80 for. But that would be because it's a side scroller. It has that 3D art style, but it's a side scroller. So that appeals more to me than a 3D Mario game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate new things like you do, so I'm not necessarily against a 3D Mario game. I just don't think they've done a good one.
I hate this new bottle of ginger ale.
But they went back to the old label.
That's right, they did.
There you go. Yeah, but it doesn't come in the aluminum cans anymore, No, I wouldn't mind a 3D Mario game if they made a good one, but it would have to be some level of challenge to it. I mean, first of all, Nintendo needs to offer difficulties, difficulty modes, because an adult, they gear their games towards children to a large extent, and it makes them just hatefully easy to play as an adult, and that annoys me. I can't get past that because it's just well, if I'm gonna play a game, I want at least an outside chance that I can fail. Or I want the game to not pretend that I'm progressing. Something like No Man's Sky, you can't really fail, but it's also not ooh, you're doing so well by progressing.
Yeah.
Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread is challenging. It's hard.
Sure.
And I think it has the normal difficulty is stat. And it's tough. It was a tough game to get through.
Yeah,
but then they have the harder difficulty.
Metroid's always been
the
heart of the Nintendo games.
This one more so because I found they added way more controls, and they made the controls really complex. So when you're having to hold 3 buttons to shoot and aim at something with a missile.
That sounds terrible. That doesn't sound hard. That just sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty nutty. It was pretty nutty.
Need one of those accessibility controllers for that shit.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I never got into the 3D Marios other than I played a lot of N64 Mario, but that was also in the last days of the couch co-op stuff. So you'd play it in a group, even if only one person was playing at a time, you'd play it in a group. Mm-hmm. So there was some of that sort of helping out and making it more interesting. But I think that they went too easy. Even Super Mario 64, it was already too easy, and compared to the newest Marios, it was incredibly difficult. Yeah. So, and I think that's why I don't like most of the Nintendo games. Is just the difficulty doesn't exist. Metroid, I just never got into. I don't know why I never got into Metroid, but I never did. Yeah. And then, yeah, so I don't know if they introduce difficulties, I'd be more interested in them. But I don't know. I think Nintendo's most of their money is in the old stuff, in the retro. And I could be totally wrong about that. But I feel like they are in a position where the same number of people who subscribe to Netflix could subscribe to the NES Online, and they'd be doing just fine, and they wouldn't have to build anything new. They could just reap money off of their back catalog.
Yeah. Actually, that's some of the selections that I've been looking at whenever I look on the Nintendo eShop is old, really old, like arcade games. The stuff that I grew up, and my friend Jim would know too, like the stuff that we'd go to the arcades and play, like Ninja Assault or Bad Dudes, or like old.
Such a weird name.
Yeah,
for a game.
Well, Bad Dudes was like a 2D fighting game, similar something like Double Dragon, the original arcade Double Dragon. It's a similar thing. Like it's just a 2D beat 'em up. Like the TMNT, the arcade game, the Cowabunga collection that just came out for Ninja Turtles, like that is like those kind of games are like the stuff that I look at when I'm looking for new games to buy on the Nintendo Switch, because I cannot, with Nintendo, Metroid Dread, like I said, was the last game that I paid full price for, and I will not pay full price for another Nintendo game.
Yeah, I don't actually see myself buying pretty much anything from Nintendo except possibly like an NES subscription anytime soon, because I don't know. None of their new stuff appeals to me. Like I tried Animal Crossing. I played Breath of the Wild a little bit, but again, it was too easy. There was a couple parts of it that were reasonably difficult if you did them early, but if you did them later, they were trivial.
I've actually considered selling the Switch just to buy a Steam Deck.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there even a market for old Switches? Like I assume they're not worth anything.
No, the trade value,
I could take it into EB Games or GameStop, whatever, and get like I bet they'd give you a refurbed Xbox game for it or something.
Probably, yeah.
I just assume they're not worth anything. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've got one kicking around that I will probably never really use again. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for being mad and looking that up. So.
Yeah, the research is great. It's it is wild to see that. Like it's the comparisons between the other prices are very interesting. But to me, like I said, the most amazing thing about this is that the prices from 2017, the prices on games from 2017 look just like the ones from 2022.
Yep.
Which is nuts.
Yep.
Well, I brought this up a couple weeks back where that game Chained Echoes that I had bought on Steam, and I looked at it on PlayStation and it was $36 Canadian. So then I went on the Switch and it was $29.
Yep.
And then when I went on Steam, it was $26, but it's also on Game Pass.
Yep.
So in that point, Sony can.
Oh, yeah. Just from the little bit I did with the other games in terms of prices, again, best option if you want to get the best bang for your buck is, again, Xbox.
Yeah. Especially
in terms of consoles.
Especially since at least some of the games, you can, especially if you do Game Pass, you can do Xbox and PC at the same time.
Exactly.
Which is fantastic.
Yep.
Best value.
Yeah.
For consoles.
So we're all going to put our Switches in a pile and burn them.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to do that.
That's just, I don't want to burn money.
Well, the fumes, I think, would be my biggest
That
concern.
too.
Yeah.
I'd just like Nintendo to respect their consumers.
That would be nice.
I'm not going to go out and pay $100,000 or $60,000 for a 2017 car.
Well, that depends on the car, I suppose. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, if there are a few games on this list that I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, fine. Like, there are essentially classic games that I'm like, yeah, you can get away with that because people still like love the shit out of those. But like, a lot of these are just random games. They don't strike me as particularly special in any way, and they're still like Kirby Star Allies is a great example where it's like it doesn't seem like a classic, but it still costs the same.
And like, because I hadn't heard of that, I looked at it. It's like a battler, basically. It's a party game, whereas Kirby's Dream Buffet came out in August 2022. It's $20. Another party game.
Yeah, it's pretty mind blowing. Very strange. If you have any idea what Nintendo's doing, hit us up in the comments, or if you just want to rant along with us. But that is super weird, and I do not know what their game plan is. So,
Absolute world domination is our game plan.
well, they're doing it wrong.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, Scammer's on me now, so they didn't get to see the last half of that. But it was the same as the first half, if you're curious.
Just as creepy.
Yeah, cool. Well, on that cheery note, I think we'll probably wrap it up. It was nice to shit on somebody who wasn't Sony for a change.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you like what you see, please click that thumbs up button. Good.
In case anyone's curious, between filming the last podcast and this episode, whenever this comes out, I showed them the one of the videos describing the Galaxy's Edge, the main ride, and Chad's been a Sith ever since.
Yes. You can call me Darth David.
Darth David, that's right. All right, thanks so much, everyone. Thank you, Sarah, for doing the research. This is awesome. And subscribe, like, tell 3 friends. We love you all. We'll see you on the next one.
Have an excellent week and go pet yourself a fluffy bunny.